Never save money. That was the first sentence my grandfather ever said to me that made me angry. I was still young then, old enough to remember hunger, fear, and long, silent nights, but not old enough to understand what they meant. Years later, when I was grown, my grandfather finally explained the truth behind those days. This is the story he told me. In the village where my grandfather lived, there was a man everyone knew. They called him lazy. Not because he slept, but because he waited. Every morning, while others walked toward the fields, he carried an old wooden chair to the shade of a wide tree. He sat there watching the road, as if success might come looking for him. He spoke endlessly. One day, I'll open a shop. One day, I'll buy cows. One day, money will work for me. But those words never touched his hands. At first, people laughed. Later, they stopped. Pity replaced humor, and pity is heavier. His wife never shouted. She was always working, cooking, washing, cleaning, stretching little into less. While his dreams made noise, her hands carried the family. Sometimes she said quietly, "Dreams are beautiful, but hunger is not." He always answered the same way. Someday. Someday became the most expensive word in his life. Years passed. Life became tighter, food thinner, hope quieter. One night, the wind slipped through the cracks in the walls. The oil lamp shook. The cupboard stood open, empty. That was when a small voice spoke. "Grandpa, do we have bread today?" It was his grandson, barefoot, thin, standing carefully as if hunger might get worse if he moved too much. The grandmother opened the cupboard again as if something might appear. Nothing did. The old man looked at the floor. His chest tightened. Dreams do not feed children. That night, sleep never came. For the first time, shame spoke louder than hope. The next morning, he went to the fields. The sun punished him. The soil showed no mercy. His back bent lower each day. His hands split and hardened. Sweat burned his eyes until the world blurred. Once, gripping a heavy tool, he whispered, "This feels like a chain." At night, he returned silent. Dinner was watery dal and one dry roti. Sometimes only rice with salt. When his grandson asked, "What did you get today, Grandpa?" he showed a few coins. "It's little," he said, forcing a smile, "but it's something." He didn't say the rest. Money came. Money went. Medicine took it. Food took it. The roof still leaked. Hunger still stayed. That was when he learned his second lesson. Hard work alone does not free you. One afternoon, at the village store, he heard men speaking confidently. "The secret is saving money," one said. "When you save, you are safe." The words felt clean, responsible. That night, he found a glass jar and slid it under the bed. Each week, he dropped coins inside. Clink, clink. The sound felt like progress. When his grandson found the jar and asked what it was, The old man smiled proudly. Our tomorrow. Saving demanded sacrifice. No new shoes, less food, empty plates. His wife finally asked, "What good is tomorrow if today is empty?" He replied softly, "One day you will understand." Months later, he carried the jar to the market. "I want 3 sacks of grain," he said, placing the money on the table. The seller counted slowly, then shook his head. "Prices have gone up." The jar bought 1 sack and half of another. "Money loses value," the seller said simply. The walk home felt longer than ever. That night, the coins lay spread across the table. Counted again and again. They never grew. His grandson watched quietly and asked, "So, why did we save it?" The old man had no answer. Days darkened. Strength faded. One morning, sitting outside, he watched neighbors pass. One carried eggs. Another carried bottles of milk. They walked calmly, not afraid. They didn't own jars. They owned things that produced. A small idea entered his mind. Small ideas are dangerous. They grow. He turned to his grandson. "What if we buy chickens?" This time, he did not wait for someday. He spent the saved money on a few thin village chickens, feathers uneven, pecking at dust, making more noise than food. The boy laughed and ran after them. "Grandpa, we can have an egg factory!" At first, there was 1 egg, then 2. They ate some, sold some. With that money, they bought another chicken. The old man wrote everything down. Every egg, every coin. The yard filled with sound, with life. Neighbors came to buy. For the first time, his work stayed. It multiplied. One afternoon, holding an egg, he said, "This feeds us. It grows. It doesn't wait." The grandson hugged him tightly. "So, you're not lazy anymore?" The old man smiled, tears in his eyes. "No, my child. I finally woke up." The jar stayed under the bed, forgotten. The chicken stayed outside, alive, noisy, growing. Years later, when my grandfather told me this story, I finally understood what I couldn't as a child. Money that sleeps becomes smaller. Money that works learns how to breathe. Saving alone does not protect the future. Creating does. If this story touched you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and remember, even a small beginning can change everything.